guys, I share coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm happy to have you here. Today we're going to talk about, really, in my opinion, one of the S-tier artifact sets inside the entire game, and it's Reflex. So Reflex got two massive buffs over the last year. The first buff was increasing the chance of reducing the cooldown of an ally skill by 1 turn from a 30 to a 40% chance. And then after that, the massive buff, indirect but still even more maybe than the 30 to 40%, is the ability to actually go in and turn off AI abilities, turn off skills on champions with the customized AI that they added to the game, which, you know, in my opinion, that and instant artifact upgrades, I've said it before, those are my favorite, like, little quality of life updates they've ever added to the game. That and super raids, I guess those are my big three, right? Super raids, the AI customization, and instant artifact upgrades. It feels like they're starting to realize that trapping us in this game for 10 hours a day to get everything done isn't the best method.
This wasn't part of the plan.
Even with the auto battles being added to the game, it's almost a nod that, like, yeah, auto battles, who cares? You're limited by a finite amount of energy. That is your real resource. So give you all the auto battles that you want, essentially, right? Why be capped? Why not have any? So, you know, these changes that they're making, a big fan of them, especially in their totality. How do you guys feel about all the quality of life stuff? Anyway, in today's video, we talked about why Reflex is a lot better. I'm going to share 10 champions who I think you should run or are optimal, to be run in Reflex artifact sets. And let's start out with a champion that I absolutely love, man. I love Contra.
I thought I was your mister, but you just want my sister.
And Contrato Cyclone is kind of an old school Reflex set champion, meaning that she only has 2 active abilities, her A1 and her A2. Thus, her A2 is the only active ability that can be, you know, have a cooldown reduced on it anyway, right? So it's always going to be going right to the Chaos Tempest. We don't need to go in there and change the AI and make her not use a skill, etc. So essentially, with Reflex, we're going to be attacking all enemies 3 times, even more often, and placing more random debuffs, and she's got so many of them, right? So she's going to be placing 3 of block buffs: decrease attack, decrease speed, weaken, decrease accuracy, heal reduction. It's just fantastic to have her in Reflex, so she's dishing out more of these debuffs, and that synergizes more with her passive as well. If they're under 5 or more debuffs, the enemy at the start of their turn, she'll place a provoke on them. When you have it in Reflex, she can actually do that more often than not, so a lot of provokes going out as well. Contrato Cyclone is definitely one of my favorite champions out there to put in Reflex. Next up is going to be, oh man, this little dwarf dude. He's a monster, he's a machine, and it's Geomancer. So you can, to be fair, you can run Geomancer in a bunch of different artifact sets, right? You can even run him in like triple perception if you wanted to, right? So there's a lot of opportunities. You want to make him fast, go speed gear. There's a lot of opportunities for Geomancer. However, in my opinion, the most effective build for damage maximization, if you will, is going to be Reflex on Geomancer. And if you look at all the best teams, whether in Hydra Clan boss or against a bunch of Doom Tower bosses, you'll see Geomancer in Reflex set almost every time. Why is this? Because on his A3 ability, this is on a 3-turn cooldown. We have an HP burn and a weaken debuff on the target for 2 turns. But this is a single target ability, right? A single target ability. We really want that HP burn to be placed on as many enemies as humanly possible by Geomancer because of his passive, right? Deals damage, it decreases damage allies receive and deflects that damage onto each enemy under an HP burn placed by this champion. So that leads you into the obvious conclusion of the more A3s that he's using, the more HP burns he's landing on different enemies, that's going to exponentially increase your overall damage output on Geomancer. So his A2 ability, you can shut that down and it will go right into the A3, or you can leave it up if you want to. But me personally, I like shutting it down. I think there's kind of 50-50 split on that. But that's Geomancer. Definitely a great viable candidate for Reflex. Next up is going to be one of my personal faves. It's Coldheart. I feel like I've said that about everybody so far.
Believe me, I'm used to it.
But Coldheart is, you know, she's an amazing champion. I like to shut off her A2 ability. Now, sometimes you need the A2. It hits decently hard. It's an AoE attack. It's a good ability. But if you're just looking to maximize damage from her Heartseeker ability, which is her big money ability, then sure, just put her in Reflex, shut off the A2, and instead of every 4 turns, it might be every 3, or who knows, maybe every 2 turns if you get a Reflex proc 2 times in a row. It's going to be just tremendous for maximizing overall damage potential on the Heartseeker ability on Coldheart. So I run my Coldheart in Reflex Gear for that reason. Next up is going to be one of the first champions I ever built with Reflex Gear, and that is the BEK. Calabat Alcazar. He has an AoE on his A1 to heal. Then he has Malice. You know, again, a pretty simple kit here, but Malice is such a tremendous ability that I'm running him in Reflex to just do it more often, essentially, right? It's the only ability that can go on cooldown, kind of like we spoke about with Contrato Cyclone. So we don't need to shut anything off. Just going to be more continuous heals pumping out, more cleanses pumped out, and more poisons pumped out on all the enemies. Again, 40% chance to reduce the cooldown by 1 turn of that Malice ability. It's already on a 3-turn cooldown. Absolutely devastating combo is Bad L in Reflex. So next up, guys, we're going to pick out Longbeard, right? So Longbeard is a great champion, but really you can use the same strategy with Lanicus the Chosen, with Creola Witch Arm, with other ally attack champions. Reflex is a great option for ally attack champions. Most ally attack abilities are either on a 4 or a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Of course, Creola notably being the 3-turn cooldown, but we can get that down even lower, especially on a champion like Longbeard, right? So he has a single target weaken. Sure, it's not a bad ability. It's on a 2-turn cooldown, but we can shut this ability off and just, again, have that Reflex go right to the Horde's Fury, which is his big skill that he's known for, right? The big ally attack with damage inflicted increased by 20% on all allies. So really using it as a strategy Reflex on any ally attack champion or comp is going to be great, because in these longer battles, I'm not talking about an arena blender comp obviously, but in these Doom Tower ally attack compositions, having more ally attacks is going to be more damage, and it's just going to result in a better overall, or faster overall run, excuse me. Next up, we're going to go with an uncommon champion. I bet you can guess who.
And his name is John C. Your time will come, wise guy.
It's none other than Armiger. So Armiger is a pretty sneaky, clever guy to put in a Reflex set. We have obviously his A1 with turn meter depletion, and then his A2 is already on a 2-turn cooldown. So basically, even though it's a 2-turn cooldown, I think some people look at Reflex and they think, oh, it's only meant for long cooldown skills. No, it's a 40% chance to go back to back with his max enemy max HP ability, right? Which can be fantastic. And then, you know, you have the A1 kind of mixed in there for turn meter control as well. I see a lot of people starting to build their Armigers for that reason, to get the back-to-back maybe lay to rest ability on his A2. Let's go ahead and talk about the inverse. Let's talk about one of those long cooldown abilities that is, you know, one of the quintessential abilities in Raid Shadow Legends. We talk about difference makers, power play abilities out there in his Seal of Magic. So some people run Prince Kymar in Seal, especially if you don't have the luxury of having 2 Kymars or a Yameko and a Kymar, these reset ability champions, champion like Renegade as well, right? What you can do is run them in Reflex. You can shut off the A2 ability, so this is not going to be put on cooldown at all. And then having these Reflex procs will help you, cycle through the Seal of Magic ability throughout the duration of your attack, resetting the all ally skills even more often, aka the rest of the champions on the squad on your team are going to be doing more of what they do well, right? Their best abilities. So certainly running a champion like a Kymar, very popular choice for Reflex as well. Next up is going to be Eleanor, a champion that I'm using a ton lately. I've moved away from Seer teams and I moved into Poison Combust teams. I shared my my speedrun Fire Knight Poison Combust team about 3 or 4, 5 maybe videos ago, if you guys want to check that one out. But Eleanor is the queen there, and we can run her with Reflex, and Combust can be put on cooldown, or reduce the cooldown of Combust. Deals damage from all poison debuffs to all enemies instantly. That's it, straight up, right? So very, very obvious potential there. Now her Smolder is a great ability as well. We have a 2 poison on an AoE, so some players opt to keep both of these active. And hey, if you're going to be reducing the cooldown of either of these abilities, they have great synergy together, totally cool. Some people shut down the Smolder ability, especially if they already have good poison dealer options already on the team, and then they just keep Combust up, and it's just going to keep going and going and going, instantly detonating all those other poison poisons on the enemy. All right, next up is going to be only 2 more left, guys, on the list, and it's going to be Royal Guard, man. I did a video maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago rebuilding Royal Guard. We put him in Reflex set. We're shutting off his A3 ability, and we're just going all-out Reflex, all-out nukage, all-out damage for Hydra Clan Boss, okay? So we talk more about that at length in that video, but, you know, in a nutshell, that's the strategy. Same thing for Husk, the 10th champion on our list. We're going to shut down the Retaliate ability. Who needs it? It's kind of an underwhelming ability anyway. We just want him doing more despairs, more enemy max HP, more stuns, depending on where you're using Husk. But again, same thing with Royal Guard for Hydra Clan Boss. I love a Husk in a Royal Guard. These enemy max HP AoE attackers just getting to their big money skills even more often. So guys, let me know what champions I left off the list. I think a popular one also, I guess I'll give her an honorable mention, is going to be Valkyrie. That's the name that I see thrown around with Reflex, and for a while, her and like Bad L were the quintessential Reflex champions. However, with Valkyrie, you know, she has the shield already for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So coming back to more stand firm is always going to be a good thing. Refresh the shield, fantastic, and get more counterattack up. So of course, yes, Valkyrie is still a great option for Reflex sets out there. I guess I snuck in her as an official 11th on the list, guys. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Let me know which champion out of these that you run in Reflex gear. Would love to hear from you guys on champions that I may have snubbed in this video. It's not an exhaustive list. I'm sure there's another 10, 15 champions who are great in Reflex as well. So I look forward to reading your comments, guys. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. If you enjoy the content here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. And as always, take care, guys.